It's Bullseye. I'm Jesse Thorn. My next guest is Heather Graham. She's an actor, of course. She's been working for over 30 years now. You might have seen her debut in the 1988 smash hit License to Drive, alongside Corey Feldman and Corey Haim. Maybe you were a fan of Swingers or Drugstore Cowboy. She starred in both of those, too. She was even on Twin Peaks for a while. Her latest movie is Half Magic. She stars in it, but it's also the first film she wrote and directed. Graham plays Honey, a woman who is trying to establish herself in show business as a development executive. She gets a job as an assistant for an action star named Peter, who appreciates her company as long as she doesn't criticize his work. Honey and her friends, who are played by Angela Kinsey and Stephanie Beatrice, team up and decide to make something of their lives. Together, they find the ultimate revenge is in living well. All it takes is love, self-respect, and possibly a little bit of new agey witchcraft. Half Magic is about the mistakes we make in love and about the sexism that's in our whole society, but especially in Hollywood. It's a comedy, but it's also very sincere. And Graham says that a lot of the outrageous, awful stuff that dudes say in the movie is pulled from real life. Here's a little bit from Half Magic. In this scene, Honey and her boyfriend Peter are arguing about what makes a good film.
I want to be a writer.
I know you want to be a writer, and in due time, really. Your writing is great. It's fresh and very unique, but you're bogging yourself down talking about stupid. You know what? Nobody wants to hear about women's stories, all right? If you want to make a film, you got to talk about a man. You got to write about a man. That's what you have to do.
Well, can you read my script? It's called The Year of My Yoni. It's about a woman who goes on a spiritual quest to find happiness and to learn about her yoni.
Yoni, I don't even know what that is. Is that like a new way of saying vagina? It sounds like a porno. I'm not into it. Look, a guy bashing another guy's skull in with a baseball bat, that's what sells.
Well, I could change the title to The Ultraviolet Yoni.
Heather Graham, welcome to Bullseye. I'm so glad to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me on your show.
And congratulations on writing and directing this film.
Thank you.
So the other day I had on the show Kristen Anderson Lopez, along with her husband Bobby Lopez, and they are songwriters. They wrote this year. They're nominated for an Oscar for a song from Coco. And
wow.
When I was talking to Kristen, she told me before she was a songwriter, she was an actress. And she said something that really affected my way of thinking about her work and that of others, which was she said, I became an actress because it was expected that if I wanted to work in theater, in the entertainment industry, I would become an actress because I'm a woman.
Yeah.
And not that she didn't want to be an actress or anything, but just...
But we don't have a lot of role models of like, oh, there's a female writer-director, there's a female producer. I mean, there's some, but there's not a lot. So it's not something little girls dream of, like, look at all these people that have done it before me. It's, oh, let me break into a business where there's barely any women. There's 7% female directors in Hollywood out of 100%, 7%.
Did you think that you wanted to become an actress since you became literally a professional actress as a teenager, but did you think that you were going to be an actress from, the day you were 6 years old and you were the ugly duckling in the school play?
Well, I did start acting in the school plays. I was Dorothy in the Wizard of Oz, and that definitely was fun. And I used to make up fantasy games with my friends and my sister where we would pretend to be different people, and I'd go, okay, this is the story. So I guess that was the early day of kind of coming up with ideas and being a writer-director. But then, yeah, as a teenager, it wasn't a road like, oh, there's so many women writing and directing. I definitely watch movies and go, I want to be the actor. I want to be the actor in that movie. And it didn't even enter my head that I wanted to write and direct. But I used to find director men really attractive. And I think I'd think, oh, I want to date a director, And I thought directors were so cool. And then one day someone said to me, maybe you don't necessarily want to date them. You just want to be a director. And I think as a woman, I didn't even know I could that was an option. So I would just be attracted to men who were doing maybe what I wanted to be doing. But I didn't even realize I wanted to do it until now.
Well, what about acting when you were an actor? Because you didn't grow up in a show business family, although you ended up in the suburbs of Los Angeles, maybe the extended suburbs of Los Angeles. your father was worked at the FBI, and so you had a childhood where, you know, you lived a bunch of different places depending on where he was assigned. And, you know, it doesn't sound like it doesn't sound like you were like definitely headed to the bright lights of Hollywood.
No, I mean, no one in my family had ever done something like this. And it's amazing to even ever succeed as an actress. I mean, the percentages of people that actually can make a living acting, I feel extremely lucky that I've been able to work as an actress my whole adult life.
So when did you decide that it was like important enough to you that you were going to, you know, stop being a normal teenager and start going to auditions?
Well, I think when you said, "Oh, you're the ugly," or that you ugly kid. I mean, I was an awkward kid at school.
I want to be
not
clear.
that I wasn't ugly. No, but I think you said
picked that just because it's a play that you might do in elementary school. I wasn't suggesting anything.
No, but
other
I'm
than
saying that is the truth. I felt like I was an awkward, geeky kid. I didn't feel pretty, and I thought this is how I can distinguish myself is to act in these plays. And I remember I auditioned for Damn Yankees, and I think I was 14, but I auditioned to play Lola, who's like the devil's like, I don't know, prostitute. You know, she's kind of like a femme fatale. And I was not at all, no guys had ever asked me out. I was not, you know, whatever. But playing that part, I felt like, oh, I can be this woman who's like attractive. And yeah, I think it was a way, I was shy, and it was a way to get attention and express myself.
Was it different when you weren't auditioning for your drama teacher and your drama nerd buddies? And instead you were in like a weird conference room in Culver City?
Well, there's another factor, which is this that, okay, I was nerdy in school. I was in advanced placement classes with all the other really smart kids. I had neck gear for a certain point. Guys weren't really asking me out. So I would go on auditions and I'd be like the beautiful cheerleader. So in this alternate reality of me driving into Los Angeles and auditioning for roles, I was actually reading for like beautiful girls that guys wanted to date, which was not my reality in my high school.
Did one of them encroach on the other? I mean, did people in your high school notice that you were getting work as an actress?
Well, the first movie I ever did was License to Drive with Corey Haim and Corey Feldman. And I got that movie when I was 17. And I think it came out when I was 18. So I was basically graduating high school. And I remember a lot of the guys that I had thought were cute that would not really pay attention to me suddenly were like, wow, maybe I should have paid attention to her. And I think some of it had to do with the fact also I was not confident. You know, I was insecure. You know, it was also my personality. But yeah, I think people were like, wow, maybe I should have actually talked to that girl.
Let's play a clip of you in License to Drive. Thank goodness I anticipated we might talk about this.
You have this? That's so funny.
I sure do. So you played Mercedes Lane was the name of your character. And in this scene, you're sitting on the hood of a Cadillac. You're sitting with your love interest in the film. You're on the top of a hill. And
Corey Haim.
Yeah, exactly. And you are looking out over Los Angeles.
Hey, it's amazing up here. How'd you ever find this place?
Someone I know used to take me here. Not a boyfriend. My father used to take me here to show me how beautiful the world could be if you could step away and see it at a distance.
Now, Heather, I have to say, I was a little too young to be in the target demo of this movie, but there is this group of people who are like 8 years older than I am or something, who this is the most important movie that ever came out as far as
if you were the
concerned.
right age when this movie came out, then it made an impression on you.
So what was that like for you to be one of the stars of this movie?
Well, it was amazing because I was awkward. No guys like me. Suddenly I'm starring in a movie where I'm the beautiful love interest. Are you kidding? This was the dream come true. I was driving onto the 20th Century Fox lot and working with movie stars. My brain was blown.
But you were also like, this was the height of the Coreys.
Yeah.
They were the stars of this. And from what, I mean, I wasn't there, but from what I understand, their world was completely insane at the time.
I mean, I did not know that they were being molested, and that is so disturbing. And I think it's so cool that people feel open to talk about these stories now, because I was looking at them like these two guys are movie stars. Their lives must be perfect. They're so successful. They've been in all these films that I admire. They're making all this money. And then like behind the scenes, like they're doing all these drugs, and there were all these creepy people taking advantage of them. It's really disturbing.
One of the things that I feel like I learned from all of the stories that have come out of the Me Too movement over the last few months is like the extent to which show business is this world where everyone is making everything up as they go. I don't mean in a literal sense of like telling fictional stories, but like there's the power dynamics are like shifting insanely wildly, and every actor and actress has to ask for work often, and nobody is confident of their place and of how things work. And so people who are at a broader disadvantage, like, they're women in a world where men have much more power than women, are like just trying to figure out how to get by, like trying to figure out how to do this thing that they really care about, and get by, work and stuff.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, on one hand, you're like, okay, I want to make great art. I want to do my job well. And then you're like, and I want to make enough money to support myself, for the rest of my life. And that's hard as an actress.
And just like that when somebody is being as monstrous as, the stories that we've heard about Harvey Weinstein, for example, it's very easy to say, well, yeah, just tell him to shove it, but it's like a really weird, foggy, scary situation where you're trying to figure out what the heck you're supposed to do. And it's really, really hard to just be like, hey, shove it.
And, there's not a lot of examples as a woman of looking at other women standing up to sexual harassment or speaking out about sexual harassment where it went well for them.
Right.
It seems like most of the times when they went to court or they spoke out in the press, nothing good happened for them. Even now, if you look at Bill Cosby, very recently was not convicted, even though all those women came forward. We don't have a big history of seeing our needs get met and our voices get heard and like fairness ensue and justice. We don't have a long history of seeing this happen.
Do people literally say to you, no one cares about women's stories? There's that's a character in the movie says that. And I thought, like, God, if to be that direct, it must have been a thing that actually literally happened.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, if they wouldn't say it in the press, but behind closed doors when you're going, will you make this movie? Women's movies don't make money. Nobody cares about women's. Yeah, they say it all the time. And even women will say it because it's just like they've been conditioned by the business that these movies are harder to get made. And the thing is, they rate everyone as like, oh, well, this person can have this amount of money based on this like system they have of how the other movies they've been in and how much money they've made. And also just that women's movies they somehow have decided that women's movies don't make as much money. So they just don't make as many of them.
Let's hear another scene from Half Magic. And my guest, Heather Graham's character in the movie, is a development executive at a production company who is working on a screenplay. And in this scene, she's in kind of like a writer's room or a development meeting. And she's talking about her distaste for the ideas of this movie star in the film named Peter, and particularly she doesn't care for the cliche in horror movies where women who've had sex have to be the first one to get killed.
Sick of watching women get stabbed in movies.
Well, I think it's a great idea, Peter. I love all your ideas.
Excuse me, but why does the woman who enjoys sex always have to die in horror films? Maybe she could fight back.
We could work in some more nudity that way.
What if the slut fights the killer and every orgasm she has makes her stronger?
That's funny. I think we should at least try it.
Well, you know what, John, I would try that, but I think that's probably the worst idea I've ever heard in my entire life, so probably can't do that one.
I like sluts. Why do they all have to die? I mean, nobody kills male sluts in movies.
I like sluts, too. Who doesn't like sluts? Maybe one should live.
Well, Linda, the thing is, you already approved the draft that I
Who are
wrote,
you?
so.
I'm a development person.
Well, yeah, she was my old assistant until recently I promoted her into development before I realized what an angry feminist she is.
Well, she's also a writer, actually a really good writer.
Well, we all write.
I want to be a writer.
I'm the young assistant.
You know, that's confusing, but I like this idea. I think we should explore it.
Yeah, Linda, but I
Peter, I gave you final cut. No studio is going to offer you that. The slut lives.
I feel like there's a part of me that would be willing to spend 8 years developing a movie if at the end of it there was the possibility that I could be friends with Rhea Perlman.
Isn't she cool? Oh
She's
my
like
God,
one
when
of the
she was
coolest
on-
people on earth. Like all I want in the world is to like shake her hand and be like, you cool.
That was just like a stroke of amazing luck that she agreed to be in the movie. And the day she came to set, I know Angela and Stephanie are both massive fans, right? And we were just all going, this is so cool. She's so cool.
When you were preparing to direct this film, who did you go to seek advice or guidance?
Well, my best friend, Michael Nichols, who has produced and directed a lot of movies, he was my main person. I also did, I talked to Lake Bell. I met her at a film festival, and I asked her about her movie that she directed and just got some advice from her about that. And just anyone that would talk to me, basically, I would ask them about their experiences.
Lake Bell made such a great movie. I loved her directing.
Yeah.
What did you learn from that? I mean, what were the things you've been on so many sets? You know, you spent your life on set since you were a teenager. What were the things that you learned in the process of making this film that, had just not come up for you before?
Well, one of the things she told me was that she had a really good friend that would watch the takes that she was in and give her, kind of direct her. And just having that close friend on the set to have your back. So that was my friend Michael, and that really helped. And I think it's just doing something that scares the out of you can be like massively rewarding emotionally. I just feel like it was just so cool to do something that I cared about so much. And it was terrifying. And it was also like the more terrifying it is, the more fulfilling. I just felt really good like doing it.
What mistakes did you make when you were making it?
Well, I think I overwrote that I had to edit it out after where I should have edited it before so we would have had more time. And, you watch your own acting a lot. So you realize your own acting, flaws after you've watched the same take a million times.
Should I ask you to list your acting flaws?
Well, I think sometimes I made it like a little more emotional than it needed to be in moments. Like, I don't know. But it's weird. It's weird watching yourself in your face and it's very strange.
Can you watch it? Like when I hosted a television show, I hated looking at it so much. Oh my gosh. I can't even begin to tell you how much I hated looking at it. Like it took me a long time to get used to hearing my own voice doing radio. But like seeing myself on screen, I was like, no, never again. Like that's the worst thing in history.
It is horrifying.
And others were kind enough to let me know that it was the worst thing in history, too. But, were you someone who had that relationship with seeing yourself on screen before you directed yourself in a movie?
Well, to be honest, sometimes I didn't always watch the movies that I acted in because it is weird watching yourself. You can start to go, oh, my God, my forehead is weird, or, oh, why do I look ugly? You can get into weird minutia that doesn't really matter. So I always try to, like let it go and just think, you know what? It's easy to be critical of yourself, so I'm just going to be positive about it.
What was it like then to be forced to stare at yourself for presumably months, right?
Well, it's kind of like, how people are taking so many selfies now and everyone takes the selfies and puts it on their Instagram. It's kind of horrifying to see yourself, but also I guess you're like, oh, I exist. Here's a picture of me. I exist. I did this, So there is something fulfilling about just being in your own movie. Like I'm telling a story about something that means something to me and I exist.
Well, Heather Graham, I'm so grateful to you for taking all this time to be on Bullseye.
Thank you. It's so fun talking to you. Thanks for all your thoughtful questions and being interested in this. Thank you.
Heather Graham, ladies and gentlemen. You can find Half Magic in select theaters now and everywhere via VOD.